allows us that. So some considerations we could do. You go to the next slide, please. What educational opportunities does KISD hope to achieve through researching and possibly adopting a DOI plan? And what are the benefits to exemptions, researching and adopting some of these? So here's some of the potential benefits on the next slide. We could have more local control. So districts can decide which flexibility exemptions best suits their local needs. They could customize. They can create an innovation plan for any level of schools, or they could do it for the entire district. It allows more autonomy. Districts must submit a district of innovation plan to the Commissioner of Education, but approval is not required. It's really just determined by the board. So some flexibilities that could be allowed would be things such as the school start date. Right now, as a traditional public school, we cannot begin our school calendar before the last Monday of August. And so if we wanted to stretch it out, or you do different, like we start earlier, end earlier, we couldn't do that right now unless we become a district of innovation, or we want to adjust the minutes. There's a whole plethora of things that we could determine if we decide to do this. We could also have some flexibility on the length of day, on the 90% attendance rule, on educator certifications. For example, because of the teacher shortage that is existing right now, the District of Innovation allows for some flexibility with that, and we'll go into that in just a minute. And there are several other possibilities. If you Google districts of innovation, and you're going to see many, many different plans throughout the state of Texas in their school districts. And so it depends on what exemptions that particular school district wanted. So here's an example of one. So the next example would be, okay, uniform school start day. So like what I just said, currently the Texas code does not allow schools to start before the 4th Monday of August. But by starting earlier, we may be able to have equal amount of days per semester. And for those students taking dual credit classes or early college, high school classes, and they want to be in line with the universities, this might be something we would consider. Let's see. It would also help with students who are applying for college. So that way by the first semester, since they would end about the same time as the colleges, then when they submit their class rank and things like that, that information could go there. The next example is minimum number of minutes. Currently, Texas code requires 180 days of school, or at least 75,600 minutes per year. So we could pursue the flexibility to allow for increased professional development and collaboration opportunities. Districts would be able to offer early start dates or later release times to better meet the needs of the students. This would not reduce any duty-free minutes for lunch and would not reduce any teacher's daily minimum 45-minute planning period. So we need to make sure we're very, very clear about that. Another example, if we decide maybe we want the exemption of teacher certifications. Well, currently the Texas code requires that all teachers hold a teaching certificate issued by the State Board of Education. With the expansion of CTE and STEM, though, it is difficult to find qualified teachers that hold teaching certificates and have expertise in some of these fields. This is especially true in health science, computer science, agriculture science. For instance, maybe in welding. Maybe a person has been a welder, an experienced welder for 30 years, and they would like to now teach those classes, but they're not a certified teacher. This is something that would allow an exemption for that. That's just one example. We'd be able to attract and retain teachers in these hard to fill positions, but this will not include any changes in certification requirements for teachers in most of the core content areas, but especially SPED and special ed and bilingual. If you look at the next page, and I gave you all a revised page 8 and 9. I emailed it to you, but I believe we've gotten copies. You can click to the next. Okay, Here, we just kind of put it in like a T chart that shows what it would, a district of innovation, what it is. And then on the other side, what it is not. So what it is, and I just gave some examples of what it could be. And then what it is not, we put examples there. So I've really pretty much gone over that. It is also not increasing maximum class sizes. And it's not altering the accountability requirements, so we still have to meet all TA accountability requirements. Let's see. It doesn't exempt us from the teacher evaluation system either, or the administrative evaluation. The next page is just, I'm ongoing a little bit about this. Let's see. So again, it is not about allowing school districts to take away the duty-free lunch or daily planning and preparation time. And a fixed document that must be followed for the duration of the 5 years. So we could return back and review our district of innovation plan if we determine either we need to add something or that we need to change something. On page 9, you should have the updated one. There are some science classes like agricultural science, or there are some, engineering type classes, of course, that would also qualify. So that's why we made sure we put STEM. If you look at the next slide, it is the process, which is just kind of a chart of, the TEA posts that shows what are the steps to becoming a district of innovation. We would have to have a board resolution, a public hearing. Right now, we're having a public hearing just to go over the overview of what a DOI is and if we're interested in pursuing it. And then the next slide is an example of what a KISD timeline could be. So on October the 4th, I pretty much went over the same PowerPoint presentation to present an overview. Then we posted for a public hearing. And so right now is the public hearing. And that way, if anybody has any concerns or questions or would like to make any comments, about the DOI, then they're free to do that during this time, during the public hearing. And then during our meeting, then we'll consider, we'll go into that section. And then here would be the timeline of everything that needs to occur. So once you decide to pursue it, then you have a public hearing for that. And then you can whether you're going to appoint a committee to pursue some exemptions they'd be interested in for a DOI. And so let me see, we can also discuss parameters. Some districts have mentioned that they use a subcommittee of their DEIC committee, or some have just chosen another committee altogether. That committee who researches a DOI plan for us would have to come and present some exemptions that they're interested in us pursuing. And the next page, you can see it just continues to go on. Then we have to have a survey because we would, make sure that we share out what is the DOI committee considering for us to pursue. So we have a survey for all of our stakeholders, and we present the survey results. And then again, we have another public hearing. And have to go to vote on that. You can see that this timeline goes all the way to March 22nd. We really don't want to go later than that because we want to be able to have the next year's calendar finalized, so we can give parents time to know, if we're going to adjust the calendar at all or not. So the plan would be in effect for 5 years, if that's what we determine there. And then the next slide is really just, you can click on that and you can find several districts of innovation throughout the state. And I did give you last time, and I believe I have it here too, and it is some of the local trends, some of the districts that are around us locally that are already districts of innovation. We're seeing Alice ISD, Benketti, Santa Gertrudis, George West, Jim Hogg, Corpus Christi, Gregory Portland, Ricardo, Driscoll, Robstown, and there's plenty more, but we just kind of picked a few that are already districts of innovation.
All right, just a little historical. Been around forever. The legislature in 2015 had a big controversy between themselves, wanting to take control of school districts and a bunch of the states saying, no, 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 there's local control of that. So as a compromise, this is what happened. The District of Innovation is, we've got the TEA rules that we're subject to, but the legislature said, okay, local boards, we're giving you some control back. And you'll be able to be flexible with this within the parameters of that. So it's not anything new. It was enacted in 2015. We looked at this in 2016, but it was too new and the board at that time was not ready to pursue this. And then we got into a situation where we weren't qualified to pursue it. So this is the first time it's really coming back to us. As Dr. Bennett said, all the surrounding districts participate in this. And so it's something that we want to be a part and look at. This is a public meeting open to the public. If anyone has any questions whatsoever, we'd be glad to answer them.
I'd kind of like to know, if we were to do this, who do you envision being in control on the ground, the administrator who runs the DOI? Okay,
It would be us.
Right.
okay.
But the DOI committee starts researching, they look at DOI plans, polling to find out, what do we really want to look at? At the beginning, like Mr. Kupal was saying, some districts just look at the calendar. And then, okay, we like that, now we're gonna look at teacher certification or whatever else, so it just depends. Some are now looking at the SHAC requirements, so they're looking at those too. So as things, I guess, kind of come down the pipe, then I guess districts can see, is this something that we have the flexibility on or not?
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
So the school, the innovation is like a charter school, or is there?
No, what it does is there's just certain areas that it gives the school board a little flexibility in administrative recommendations. There's none of the curriculum is affected, none of the testing is affected, none of the admission process is affected. What is affected is the number of days and the hours don't change, the minutes don't change, but the number of days as to when we start, when we stop. It allows some flexibility in hiring some teachers in some subjects that it's very difficult to get teachers for that may not have state certification. Now, they still have to be approved by the board and they still have to, they're still be evaluated as a regular teacher. But as Dr. Pettis said, auto mechanics and some of those, they may not have a 4-year college degree in teaching, but they can be brought in and trained to teach that one subject. It just allows some flexibility in that regard, but this does not change in terms of student requirement. It does not make us a charter school. It just gives us a little more flexibility. As many of you know, our start date is very different than the start date of some of the schools around us. And a lot of that is because they are districts of innovation and we're not. So we've been limited to that schedule. We found it harder and harder to compress. As a result, many of them get out earlier in May and our school year actually continues into the beginning of June. And what we'd like to do is to have the flexibility to be able to align that a little better. Makes it easier for parents, makes it easier for summer activities, things along those lines. But that's all we're looking at. And again, I think it's very important to know that tonight we're just going to be considering, do we want to continue to look at this? No decisions will be made until down the road. There will be other public meetings. There will be other public forums. There will be surveys that will be published on our website. It's a very exact process that we have to go through. And so it's not going to be a sleight of hand that we try to bring something in the middle of the night. This will be done in bright sunshine and everyone will be aware of it. And it's something that I think will make us stronger as a district. I think it will help our students. It will help us attract faculty and it's something that we'll be looking at, but we're simply considering tonight, do we want to pursue this? Any other questions?
I just want to make a comment, and I just want to assure you that no one that is employed right now is going to get affected. It's really going to be to fill those hard area positions, and I know it's statewide. So this is going to give the district that flexibility to hire people without the appropriate certification. So it's not going to affect anyone's pay. It's not going to affect your job duties or anything like that. It's just trying to fill those hard spots. So just, so you can just kind of relax. It's gonna be good for the district. I'm from a district that we are a DOI district and we have only benefited from it. You know, especially with filling the positions, the school start date, you know, at the end of the year, even in December, like we have, there was always a problem with the students that were going or taking dual credit courses. And so like the semester was over, like the beginning of December or whenever. And the college was still going on. Well, those kids still had to go to school. Whereas we had, you know, now I think we can actually work our schedule to where it coincides with the university also for those parents that have students in dual credit and stuff like that. I think it's only a benefit to us.
Anything further? If not, I will declare this public meeting adjourned. At 5:22 p.m., we will begin the board meeting promptly at 5:30 p.m. p.m. on Tuesday, October the 18th, 2022. Call this regular meeting of the Kingsville Independent School District to order. We'll have roll call. Joe Morales. Here. Martin Chapa. Martin Chapa. David Garcia. Here. Elizabeth Ramos. Elizabeth Ramos. James Glusing. Here. Donna Salinas. Here. Brian Kufal is here. Let the record show there is a quorum of board members present, and that this meeting has been posted in accordance with Government Code Chapter 551 of the State of Texas Open Meetings Act. We move to the moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for all.
This meeting is being live video streamed at bit.ly/3SROLQR. We move now to item number 4, which is the adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda? Motion made by Mr. Garcia, seconded by Mr. Morales. All those in favor, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries 7-0. Item number 5, public participation. Ms. Galindo, do we have anyone that wishes to address the board?
Yes, sir.
All right. Next, this item on our agenda is the public comment period. This is the time for citizens, staff, or students to provide their comments to the board. Statements and questions arising from the audience will not be permitted during other portions of the meeting. To have your comment heard during the public comment, your name and the subject matter of your comments must have been written on the sign-in sheet prior to the start of the meeting, which is located in the front of the room. Each speaker will be limited to 5 minutes to complete his or her comments. As the presiding officer, I will be enforcing that time limit. All comments should address a matter related to Kingsville Public Schools. School board will not hear public comment that involves a complaint about an individual staff member, a personnel action, a student disciplinary matter, a complaint about an individual student, or pending litigation. In the event your comment in the judgment of the presiding officer constitutes a complaint against an employee or officer, the presiding officer will interrupt you and ask you to stop and direct you to proceed with the district's formal grievance procedures, DG, BA, FNG, or GF local. The board expects that each speaker will be courteous, modeling for our students how one can respectfully disagree with others' views. Speakers will address their comments to the entire board and not to one individual board member, nor to the superintendent, nor to a staff member, nor to the audience. Speakers will not engage in personal attacks. Speakers will present their comments from the podium provided for them. With these cautions in mind, we will now be glad to hear the general comments. Our first speaker will be Andrea Solis.
Hello, my name is Andrea Solis. I'm an 8th grader at Gillette Middle School. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight on behalf of myself and the students of Gillette Middle School. I am here tonight and I would like to introduce to you the National Junior Honor Society for our school and our student population. The National Junior Honor Society is a program that will not only benefit our student population, but will also strengthen our school spirit and community. NJHS assists in recognizing the need to help middle-level students, such as myself, jumpstart and aim toward a higher education. NJHS also provides an outstanding opportunity to grow with academically accomplished peers who are sharpening the habit needed for success in high school and beyond through leadership development, community service planning, goal setting, time management, and preparing us to become future leaders. NJHS membership is also listed on our resumes, reflecting the leadership skills, habits, and standards gains that are so important to success in high school, college, and careers. As of now, our school is the only school in the surrounding area without a NJHS program. This program was once available to our community at Memorial Middle School, but became inactive with transition to Gillette Middle School. The oversight is damaging to our ambitious and high-achieving middle-level students as we prepare for our futures in high school, college, and careers. Board members, I ask you tonight to consider and actively pursue opening an NJHS chapter on our campus for our students, teachers, parents, and our school community. Thank you for your time and dedication to our students and Gillette Middle School.
Thank you, Ms. Lilly. All right, our next speaker will be having to help us all there, Sam Fugate in the city of Kingsville.
That's a tough act to follow. Huh? What a great job. Sam Fugate, 413 Elizabeth here in Kingsville. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. As all y'all know, I served on this board for 9 years, and it's the hardest job I ever had. And I've tried all kinds of murder cases and a lot of other things as an attorney, and by far and away the hardest job. And I really appreciate your service here tonight and for being on this board. I looked it up. We've had 10 superintendents in the last 10 years. That's an indication of a distressed district. You have a good superintendent. It's critical that you have the continuity of a administrative officer that can work for more than 8 months to 10 months to 12 months. It takes 3 to 5 years to, and I think it probably is going to take longer than that for KISD to turn this battleship. But I'm here to support superintendent. I believe that Kingsville is fortunate, our community is fortunate to have her. She's going to turn this district around. And I know sometimes you have people that complain, but I tell my staff and commission members that just because people are complaining, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It can be a good thing, because you're going to have to upset some people probably to get this thing turned around. Yes, but that's what I'm here for, just to make sure that you hear my voice. And it's important for our community, and I help represent the community. It's important that we have good leadership. I'd also point out to you that you need to be careful, because if you let people go and you have to hire another superintendent, you're going to have a hard time finding a good one like the one you have right now. People aren't going to come. And you might not always agree with her. When I was on this board, I didn't always agree with the superintendent. I don't always agree with the city manager. But I tell you, they're the professionals, not me. And sometimes you just got to have trust. You might say, I wouldn't do it that way, but if that's what you want to do, you got to do it. You got to have that attitude. You got to put your personal preferences, your personal biases and prejudices aside, and work with the community as a whole. And with that, that's all I got to say. And Brian, you might be old and experienced, but I'm older than dirt. I've been in public service. I've been in either here on the school board or the city for over 20 something years, 29 years. I think I added it up the other night. So been around a while. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. All right, our next speaker will be Judge Rudy Madrid from Claver County.
Hey, good evening, Commissioner Schultz and I, we come on behalf of Claver County.
Tonight, we actually come bearing gifts for you all. Before we do that, I do want to take the time, since we're giving acknowledgements, I do want to, first I want to thank the school board, each and every one of you. I'm really proud of each of you. I gotta say, it's been a long time since I was able to say that about our school board members collectively as a group, but I'm proud of each of you in your own individual way. Everyone stands up for the right reasons, for the right cause, and you do it the right way. So your school's doing amazing, not only academically, your sports program, your band program, come on, I saw Portland, so the band is rocking the house. You know, every aspect you got, we had the honor of visiting H.M. King High School the other week and got to speak on, to the children. The spirit of H.M. King High School, the brain spirit is in the hallway, the vibe is there, the motivation is there. I haven't seen such great morale in the school district in so long. I haven't been this excited about KSD in a long time. I think you have an amazing superintendent who just really cares, just really cares about the children. I see it firsthand when I visit that school and I visit often. And not to mention, I do want to applaud you guys on school safety. I took a little undercover approach while I was visiting your high school, just to kind of walk around and check doors and all that good stuff. And you've got a rock star security team protecting you guys. Your teachers got it. Again, superintendents that locked on. Chuck, before we go into the gifts, you want to add a little something?
I was driving down Brentwood Boulevard and I noticed that we do have a fence up around our perimeter of our school. I've sat in a lot of safety meetings that the school board has right here in this room, different school districts, Ricardo, Rivera, San Gertrudis, KISD, which is the biggest one. And they've all been very supportive of school security. And not only we're talking, we're acting. You put a fence up. We're seeing things happen. We're seeing doors being locked. We're seeing security guards being hired. And that's what it takes. And the school board is, I'm not going to say that in the past has failed, but we've had failing grade. We are passing. I appreciate that. Thank you all very much for working very hard at that. And the superintendent has really done a great job in getting us over the hump. And great things are to come. I'm like the mayor. I think that we need to brag about our school district. Some of the things that we hear as county officials is people aren't moving to Kingsville because KISD has a failing grade. Well, it's not failing anymore. We're moving forward.
Thank you. All right, so sometimes they say God works in mysterious ways. Well, I've been working with Dr. Pettis for some time now on this ag farm. How do we make this ag farm work? We knew that it was in dire needs of repairs. We knew it was unsafe. It was imperative that we work on it quick. On behalf of our schools, our students, our 4-Hers, our livestock show folks. We're like in the heart of it. So everyone's getting their animals right now as we speak. We were trying to figure out a legal way of doing it. We come to you guys and present it to you. We're working with your attorneys and we had to work out the legalities on how could the county legally assist with an ag farm without taking over the ag farm. And we thought of some other innovative ways not to encroach on you guys, because believe me, we didn't want it either. We wanted you guys to keep it. God worked in mysterious ways. As the emergency manager, I was called out there. There was a horrific storm that blew right through it and wiped your roof clean off it and took all your electricity with it and all kinds of crazy stuff. So I was able to make an executive decision as the county's emergency manager. I went to my commissioners, asked their permission unanimously. They agreed to put some emergency funding into it. Funding that we had worked together as a commissioner's board, and we had actually had some grant monies put to the side, and we were going to probably put it in one direction. But when we saw this, we said, you know what, we're going to hit the brakes, we're going to reallocate it. So not only did we fix this ag farm for you, but we did it at no cost to our taxpayers as well. So the cattle barns are completely restored. The cattle barns, the lamb barns, and the goat barns The show hog section didn't need anything right now. It's gonna need some work over time, but it wasn't as desperate as this stuff was. While we were there, we said, you know, we got a little extra money, why don't we go ahead and sandblast all those pens, since we had the roof off already, we sandblasted it, we repainted it. We put new electrical out there, we needed it. We took off all the wood framing on the roofs and we went ahead and welded steel pipes out there, so it should last you a long time. I'm gonna invite you all tomorrow, 2:30. We're just gonna do a little miniature ribbon cutting. I've invited the Chamber of Commerce to come, they'll bring out the ribbon and the scissors, and we just wanna show you your beautiful new ag farm. I know kids are in school, but if there's a way to get some of your ag kids out there, 2:30, you might wanna on a bus or something. But from us to you guys, congratulations. Thank you. Thanks.
All right, we move now to item number 6, communication from administration. We'll start with 6A, which is the superintendent's update. Dr. Bettis.
Okay, first of all, some things have occurred since we presented this list on Friday, and that is our Brahma band got straight ones on Saturday. Congratulations to our director and all the directors and everybody who supported the Brahma band. Also, Friday, I want to thank also Mr. Eric Gonzalez, who he was gonna have to, oh, there he is, he's right there. He's our new attendance compliance officer. And he's really been putting some things into place to help improve our attendance. And so Friday, they had a pickle and popcorn party. And there were 1,767 students across the district that were celebrated for perfect attendance for that window. So congratulations to Mr. Gonzalez and all his team for making sure that they did whatever they could to help the students get to school. So I want to thank all the campuses, the principals, the attendance clerks, everybody, parent liaisons, communities and schools, everybody who helped, and especially to our parents who got them there on time, and to the students for getting there on time. So thank you so much, okay? Okay, with that being said, then all of a sudden, the flu is here. Okay, so now we got to make sure students and parents, if you can help us, again, do some protective measures to keep the flu away. We have had an influx of people calling today. They have the flu or fever, and so we got to take care of each other. Okay, so please just want to make sure that we alert you about that. We're going to try to keep the crowds from getting too close together and try to put some measures in that we had last year when we were trying to keep free of disease. The next thing is the anti-bullying presentations. David's Legacy Foundation is, they're the ones who created what's called David's Law. And that is a law that helps protect students and helps give parents information about how can you deal with bullies, how can you deal with bullying. And so I heard the mother of David present at the Education Service Center last month, and I invited her to come speak here to our parents. And so she's going to come on November the 3rd at 5:30. It's going to be at Dome A. We're really going to try to publicize this, but I need you all to help spread the word. If we can all come together to do something about bullying, I think that'll be a huge message we're sending if we have parents and us coming together to do something about it. So I hope you will tell your friends to come over to that session. We did have Zoom sessions for our students. Last week we had Gillette and the elementaries on 2 different days, and then today we had the high school one. I was very impressed with the participation of the students. They were asking questions, they were sending questions into the chat. They were actually making statements about what's causing bullying. And so I was very impressed, and even the presenter said, I'm so impressed with your students. So they may be calling on KISD to help them present later. So I just have to give so many kudos to our Brahma. So thank you all so much for participating in that. But also to our principals, our counselors, and our teachers and staff for ensuring that their Brahma Time kids were actually engaged and were actually paying attention to the Zooms. The videos were very touching. David had been bullied. He ended up committed suicide. And so his story is very touching. but his parents felt like they had to do something after his death, and so they started this foundation. You can Google it and you can find that out. The next thing we're gonna talk about is the ag farm restoration. And so I have Dr. Sandoval coming over here, and you heard a little bit about it from Judge Madrid, but we have some pictures and things to show as well.
Thank you, Dr. Pettis. Mr. Cooper, Board of Trustees, I'm going to present on the ag update in terms of the restoration that we had. As Judge Madrid mentioned, we had a storm happen on September the 26th. And who knows if that was a grace of God or whether it was just.
We want to thank Mother Nature.
We're definitely in need of some repairs out there. And the county acted very swiftly in terms of providing resources out there to renovate that facility. The next day, we were getting phone calls about things that they could do for us. Dr. Pettis asked me to work with Judge Madrid, and we did what we could to help them on our side to make sure that we get our animals out of there and help clean the pins out where they restored and clean those pipes up and repair those roofs. So we had extensive damage to the roofs. Big part of the roofs were blown off or ripped off in terms of they were no longer at a point where they could be utilized or was it safe. Along with the roofs, when they got pulled up, it took the electrical piping and conduit that was attached to it. So there was some exposed wiring there at the CT facility, which made it unsafe for students. Which made it unsafe for students and parents as well. So we were asked to assist with that process. Again, we made sure we removed the animals from the facility. We also asked our ag students to go out there and pick up the pins, throw some of the trash in some piles out there that needed to be thrown, so they could do the work that needed to be done. There was some damage done to the storage unit that's out there. Fence lines that were the west side of the ag farm. You see some of that fence that's hanging on that, not the fence, but the roof hanging on that fence line. We had some damage done to our pen that we use to work and walk our steers and our animals. But that good thing about that's just a temporary structure that could be put back together, which it has been. As you can see, this is still part of renovation where the roof's being removed as part of the tear down. Here we are repairing the roofs again. We did put, as Judge Madrid mentioned, they put steel purlins on the top of that roof. Before we had 2x4s, so that structure is a lot more. It's well built now compared to what it had been previously built. We have, I don't remember the gauge. Judge Madrid mentioned the gauge of that roof, but it's a thicker gauge roof than we had prior to. We had the corrugated tin. Now we've got a better roofing system on that whole east side or west side steer, land, and gold pin. This is a picture from the bottom, and that's both going in both directions. You can see the new roofing along with the electrical that was repaired in those stalls and those pins. Also, they sandblasted those pipes and painted them a black paint. You can't, I don't know if you can see it in the picture, but they painted it all. So should prevent it from getting any further rust at this point. And all the gates and doors are now functional there in these, I think it's 24 pins that we have on this side of the ag farm. So we want to thank the county, Judge Madrid, and all the commissioners that assisted with this project, because again, from the minute it happened, they were there on site that day, and they were there to really assist the district to make sure that our students, who are in the middle or the beginning of ag season or livestock season, animals have been collected, were already stored at the facility. We needed a place to store our animals. So he acted in, I think it was about 3 weeks ago, going on 4 weeks this Thursday or this Tuesday. Well, actually, the day's 4 weeks that it occurred, or 3 weeks. So they acted pretty quickly, got it done in a quick turnaround. So we want to thank them for the support and the help they provided the district. So at this time, we'll take any questions in regards to the update or repairs to the ag farm.
I have two questions. What happened with the animals? Did the owners have to find their own accommodation?
Yes, they did. We also had the Veta ISD that assisted, and I believe Bishop did as well, offered their ag farms available to the kids while ours were being restored.
And we have a monthly rental for that, correct? Over there at the ag
I
farm?
believe it's $175 a year. Ms. Ramirez?
It depends if it's a lamb or a steer. The highest is that amount for the steers, and then it goes down lower to the pig.
Have they been reimbursed for the inconvenience of it all?
As far as I know, they haven't been.
And then I just want to kind of make a statement here because, I don't know, as a board, we're not really, how do you say? We don't know the details of everything that's happened. I did earlier this year, ask about the ag farm and the Carlisle insurance. When we went ahead and approved that insurance, it states that, there's a building value to it of $313,460. And I asked, why are we insuring this? The deductible is $100,000. I'm just trying to save some bread. That's what I'm trying to do. And I guess we're past that already, but I don't know why we have insurance on this if we're not going to use it.
I think that there's more to that insurance than just the physical damage. And if we had a kid injured out there, if we had liability for animals that were destroyed during that by our fault, that would be one thing. Or if we had a complete devastation, $300,000 claim, we'd be ahead at least $200,000.
Our insurance ends February 28th. We will have Carlisle here beginning of December at a board workshop where we will discuss all these issues, and they will make recommendations, but it'll ultimately be the board's decision what to recommend for insuring for next year at which amounts, whether it's for replacement value or for actual cash value for each of the facilities.
Yeah, I know there's general liability and there's property insurance, and that property insurance is what I'm talking about. Now it's $100,000 per occurrence. I just trying to save some bread if it's pointless to have it.
I think the fact that we got lucky this time because it was actually the weather that damaged it. And if it wouldn't have been the weather, if there were other things that could have damaged it, then we wouldn't have been able to use the county emergency funds.
Right.
So I wouldn't want to have that without insurance.
Are we really gonna drop $100,000 out to think that's $200,000? Maybe at low work. That's how you gotta think about it.
Well, but that needs to be taken into consideration with the actual dollar amount assessed to that portion of our insurance policy, which is probably less than $100.
Well, I just want to say one thing, and I just want to thank Judge Madrid and our commissioners for saving us a lot of money.
Dr. Sandoval, so my question is, because Judge Madrid did mention that a lot of, there was a significant amount of work that was done by the county. What else is lacking that needs to be completed? Because he said there were still some things that needed to be finished or completed. They'll be okay for right now, but if we were able to save this money, is there something that we can do as a district to complete whatever needs to be completed out there?
I think we need to look at our plumbing.
Okay.
I know we have some drains out there in the pins, but we've had some issues with it, and part of that has to do with the fact that the animals kick dirt and sand into the drains, and it causes the septic tank there to get clogged up. So I would say we need to do an evaluation on the plumbing system there to see, what needs to be repaired and how extensive the repairs are. And I think we need to do some repairs to some of the actual cattle panels that we got, or hog panels that they call. Some of them do need to be repaired or replaced. So I would say we, as a district, need to look into those costs.
I know it's been said in the past, so how many actually of our students are using the ag farm? Do we know?
So, do you know that number right now?
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
I don't have the exact number, but it's over 100 students using those pins. They're all FFA students. At this time, we're not doing 4-H. In the past, we did, but we just do FFA students. So those, the pigs, the goats and what, and the steers, they pretty much use all the stalls that we use there.
So I think it's something that we really need to look at here quick, on the plumbing, maybe Dr. Brooks.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, the storm did not hit the side where the hogs are, so that's still, and so since there was no damage, but it still needs a lot of repairs because of the age. So that would be an area that needs to be addressed as well.
Gotcha, thank you, Ms. Williams.
And right now, we're doing a facility study, TASB's doing a facility study for these next couple of weeks. So that's something that we need to have a look at too, I'm sure that is something actually.
I would say that the life of that facility has been extended. Due to the work that the county has put into it. Last year when I presented to you guys the state of the ag farm. We were concerned on how much time we had left in that facility without hurting steers, animals, students, parents. I think it's bought us some time, but I think we still need to look at a repair that needs, how to extend that even further by maybe looking at the plumbing. See what kind of repairs we can do on the pig side, but definitely the side that has the most work that need to be done is the side that got hit the hardest.
Thank you. Thank you.
Also, I would be interested in what is the expected maintenance per year, because I know that a certain amount of money should be put back into this every year. I don't mind deferred maintenance. I don't mind setting it aside and saying we can't afford it, but I would like to at least know a projection of how much it's going to take it to maintain the property once you get this.
Yes. Okay, the next thing, the next update is about the status of the buses, and Dr. Pitts, you can just, because I know I've come to you before and let you know about the new bus.
We have an aging bus fleet as well as vehicle fleet, but we'll focus on buses for this conversation. The board approved the purchase of 3 new buses. 2/3 of that will be reimbursed. We have strategically not cut the buses in half yet because we are actually using some of those older buses, but we have about 3 more years to get that reimbursement. So we're trying to get some life out of the older buses as long as possible. So we also purchased a special education bus because we had a need. We currently have 6 special education buses. 2 of them don't have air conditioning, and 1 of them is currently in the shop, which we purchased a new motor for. But as they were getting ready to send it back, there have been problems with it. And of course, we haven't accepted delivery of it until it is fixed. So we will eventually have a 4th special education bus, which we will eventually need if numbers keep rising, that has air conditioning as well too. All of those buses, except for the one that I meant, the special education that I mentioned, are currently in good operating condition. I'll take any questions, Steve.
And according to Mr. Vetta today, he said all buses the ACs are working in their ACs and heaters. Now, there has been around the districts, whenever there's a bus that breaks down or if we don't have enough drivers, Ricardo, Rivera, Bishop, we've all been actually sharing and helping each other out because they're in the same boat. The same thing is happening to them. And so just yesterday, one of the districts called and said, I am in desperate need for a driver. Anybody have somebody who can drive my students, this afternoon? So this is something that, we're trying to advertise as much as possible. We're looking for bus drivers as well, just like every other district. But as far as the buses, I want to commend Mr. Vetta and Dr. Pitts for seeking out ahead of time monies or grants to be able to get those 3 buses and the special ed bus that we were able to get.
Matt Vetta really did a lot of research and put time into it, and really they're in short supply right now. We're one of the few districts that was able to get some buses at this time.
So we have received those three, we have those three buses.
We are using those 3 buses and the new special education bus currently.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, the next thing is the update on our CTE program. And you should have a handout on that.
Thank you, Dr. Pettis. Mr. Kufal, Board of Trustees, I'm going to present on the CTE program of study at H.M. King High School for the 22-23 school year. Including this report is information pertaining to student course requests, student participation, previous participation trends, student teacher ratios, board approved stipends, and program study field trips for the past 2 school years. So every year at the in the spring semester, we deal with our students and we give them an opportunity to select courses that they're interested in for the upcoming school year. And the first slide that you see the number of students that are involved in our programs of study there at H.M. King. We've got 11 different programs of study that we have there at the campus. Some of them we have teachers that are within the same program of study but offer different courses. Healthcare, therapeutic, and diagnostics, we have 174 kids. Teaching and training, we're at 34 students. And that course is a little smaller because we're building that program. That's a new one. In recent years, we had hospitality and tourism, and we're phasing that one out. We just phased it out this last year. So teaching and training is relatively new to the district. Engineering, we have 131 students. Digital communication, that's 111. Business management and entrepreneurship, we got 108. Automotive services, technology, and collision repair technology, we're at 107. And animal science, we're at 87. Applied agriculture engineering, 96. Next slide, you'll see the number of course requests. We build our schedules at the high school based off the requests that are made in the spring semester. We determine how many students are taking the course, how many sections we need to create, so that we have a proper student to teacher ratio. If at that point we need to make a recommendation to drop a teacher from a program of study or drop a program of study because there's low student interest or there's no market out there for students that are getting those certifications, we would take those things into consideration during that time frame. In addition, when we see an increase of student interest in a certain program, we may hire a teacher for that program to make sure that we have sufficient coverage for the number of students that have selected those courses. Before you'll see the requested courses, and then those students that are participating in these actual courses during the course of this school year 22-23. So you'll see some variation in numbers. You might like that first one, ag mechanics, you'll see 44 requested it. Only 9 are actually 39 are participating in the course. That could be through a different variety of things that could have happened. Kid may have decided to remove themselves from a program of study. They may change their program of study. Student may decided, or there may have been a student conflict where they selected a course that they wanted, and that specific course that they also selected conflicts with that other course. So they got to make a decision on what course they prefer to be in versus possibly a CT program of study. So there's various things that can conflict with the actual course request, that just being one of them. Other things being that they decided their senior year that they don't want to be in a CT program. They drop the program and they maybe do half day school and do a co-op, or maybe they're doing something different, taking college courses. So there's a variety of things that can interfere with those numbers changing. So you'll see the different requested and participating numbers for all CT courses there at H.M. King during the 22-23 school year. On the next slide, CT program to study student teacher ratio. Some of our programs do have multiple teachers just because the number of students that do participate in the programs. So that slide that we're looking at right there, the first ratio pertains to 1 teacher. The second ratio pertains to the second teacher that might be part of that program of study. So beginning with our agriculture, our first teacher has a 12-to-1 ratio, and the 6 or 7 different courses they teach. The second teacher has a 22-to-1 ratio. Automotive technology, 12-to-1 on that first teacher, 18-to-1 on that second. Just to make, some of those numbers are a little off because some of our teachers that are teaching that level 3 and level 4 course, those classes tend to have smaller numbers because when we start our first principles courses, we have a big number of kids taking those courses. As they move on to the level 3 and level 4 courses, they do tend to shrink it in size just because it's more specific to their program of study. And we do tend to lose a little kids as they transition to the junior, senior year. So that first ratio is usually those level 3, level 4 courses for those teachers teaching those courses. Digital communication, we're at 1401 and 1601. Engineering, we're at 1601 ratio. Health science, we're at 12:1 and 11:1 ratio. And teaching and training, we're at 11:1 ratio. Our teacher, as I mentioned earlier, has 39 students in that program of study, but she also teaches other courses in CTE or that are just at HM King High School. Our CTE program of study, student organization field trips. This data is based on 2020, 2021, and 21-22. This year's, we're barely in the beginning of the school year, so we don't have longitudinal study or information on the number of field trips, but our agriculture in 2020-21 had 9 field trips. That was a COVID year, just to remind you guys. And 21-22, we're at 45 trips. Automotive technology, they did 5. The 2021, last year they did 4. Business entrepreneurship, they were 0. And last year they did 6. Digital communications from 0 to 1. Engineering from 3 to 3. Health science from 0 to 6. And teaching and training from 0 to 6. Our next slide is our board approved CTE stipends. Our agriculture program in 2020, 2021, they were receiving $1,200. Last year, we brought to the board and asked for an increase in their stipend, and we increased that to $5,000 because they do participate in a lot more extracurricular activities. And it's a year-long process versus just a spring semester. Automotive technology, they don't get a stipend. Business entrepreneurship, they do not get a stipend. Digital communications, they get $1,750. Health science, they get $2,500. And teaching and training, they don't get a stipend. And at this point, I will take any questions that you have of me or Ms. Ramirez in regards to the CTE program to study at HMQ.
Dr. Sandoval, on the CT student teacher ratio, you've got 2 columns, right? You got 112-1, and then second column is 22-1. Can you explain that to me again one more time? Sorry.
The first column is, there's 2 teachers. One teacher is on the left column, the second teacher on the second column. That first teacher is the teacher that's typically teaching that third level 3, level 4 courses, which are your advanced courses and your practical courses. So those courses, they're your shop courses as well. So, we try to keep them at a 15:1 ratio. So it's definitely gonna throw your numbers down in terms of your student teacher ratio. In addition, your level 1 courses are usually your practical or your principles courses, where the kids are just coming in, they're investigating which courses they actually like. So we tend to get an influx of kids taking those principles courses as they investigate and determine what program of study they really want to be more specified.
And the principal's courses are usually the freshman year, where there's a lot of classwork more likely, and it's investigated, when the other ones are the actual in the shops.
Also, one of the reasons one of the teachers has a lower number than the other is we have 2 different programs of study in agriculture. One is the agriculture applied engineering, which is welding. And so we only have a limited amount of weeks in welding, so we cap our classes due to safety issues. So the numbers are going to be lower. The other program study exam is science, and those can take more numbers. And so that's part of the reason for the difference in the numbers of students.
Mrs. Ramirez, is a certified nursing assistant under the healthcare therapeutic diagnostics?
Certified nurses assistant, that used to be, but they've changed some of the rules in the nursing homes and in the hospitals, the requirements. So the area, the surrounding area has moved from the certified nurse assistant and due to COVID as well, and has moved on to other certifications as EKG, patient care, medical assistant, and phlebotomy. So we're doing 3 of those right now. Now, if they do change requirements for the CNA, then we would looking at CNA once again. But at this time, they've made it a little bit harder to do our, yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Dr. Perez, who put this together? What team put this together? Dr. Sandoval, Ms. Ramirez, myself, I reviewed the counselors, because we have to get the course request sheets, we have to get all that data. Julie Bishop has to give us the master schedule, so we can look at all those numbers. So it was a team effort.
Is this how you see it when this is kind of presented to you during that throughout the school year? Is this-
No, I don't see it in the PowerPoint. I see the master schedule. I see the simple tallies. But I know how to read those.
Right.
And so this is put in a presentation, so that way it's more user friendly for anybody who's not used to looking at the master schedules or the simple tallies.
Well, I want to thank you and your team for putting this together, because as a board member, this makes sense. And there are always a lot of questions when it comes to how the district grade is, and I know this has a lot to affect on that. So I appreciate you putting this together. I think when the board looks for information, this is what we want to swallow. So I really appreciate you when I asked you to put this, all this information, you put it together like this. So thank you guys. It lets us know for sure in black and white that we're definitely on the right track, especially towards the end of the year, and what programs maybe we could do without, or some that we want to bump up. So thank you for this. Off the cusp, out of the woods, I would like some information on the so-called river that's been going around for 2 years on the animal science and the ag programs. I believe it is, we're slowly doing away with the program because the ag farm's not doing well. We don't have teachers for the class to give a proper curriculum. Can you shed some light on that when we're going around?
Okay. That's definitely a rumor. Okay, agricultural science is not going anywhere. I mean, we just talked about the ag farm. We're very proud of them. We're very proud of the FFA students, our participation in it. Personally, I just told my daughter, I wish you moved to Kingsville so my grandson could be in the FFA program. I mean, it's so worthwhile. So I hope, that, I mean, and no matter what, you're not gonna stop rumors, but it's just not true. So we are definitely pro agricultural science, definitely.
And I think
No
another.
Aggies.
I think another place where the district of innovation can come into play also. Very much so, especially as we get more and more technical into the welding and the engineering.
Yeah, I also want to add in the regional study here, there are 3 programs of study in the region that have the most demand, and agriculture is in the top 3. So and we base our programs of study on the needs of the region. And so we are always going to have an ag program always.
Now, you brought up a very good point, the DOI. If we were a DOI, boy, would that help us get ag teacher. Because there are there are a lot of people who are very experienced in agriculture, but they're not certified teachers. So this would be something to help open up that for us.
And I will share something as well. We did reduce our ag program by 1 teacher last year, but it wasn't because we're trying to reduce the program. It's because there was not a need for that many teachers based off the number of students that were requesting the program. If you look at the student to teacher ratio, we added that teacher to digital communications and AV because there was a need there. And even now with the 2 teachers, we're still at 14:1 and 16:1 ratio. So if you look at that, you add that, you're looking at 30:1 ratio for that AV program, which is a high number considering the fact that is a lot of hands-on work. And we're serving 2 different programs of study. I think it was 140 something students. It was a high number, and we had to put the personnel where the needs were at the time. And I've shared this with Dr. Bettis and Ms. Fernandez, we've talked about if the need is there again for ag to have that 3rd teacher, we definitely will look and hire that 3rd teacher. But right now, based on what the numbers were at, we were overstaffed and we had to make a decision on where to best put our personnel service programs. So that's a decision we made this past year.
So when students are coming from 8th grade to 9th grade, they're choosing their, what do they want to take? What classes do they want to take? And based on that, it creates a simple tally. From that simple tally, then we see, okay, if we have 100 students wanting this class and we only have 20 students wanting this class, where do we need more teachers? The one that has the demand. It's like a supply and demand type thing. So that's what we use to create the master schedules and And that's really what drives the staffing needs.
Are all these students that are listed in this presentation, is this all at the high school level?
Right.
So are there any programs that begin at the junior high level?
We don't have programs at the junior high, but what we have is a course, a CT course called Investigating Careers. It's a semester course. Every eighth grader runs through that program, and that's where they learn about their different careers. And that's where they get to make their choice when the counselor comes to ask them what career goal they want. And so they do interest inventory, they do research on careers. So when the counselor does come to visit with them to do the course request, they'll able to give that career goal, which I guess determines their graduation plan.
Well, I was just wondering, because we have some students that at a much earlier age get involved in something. I don't want to go into what they could be, but anything they could get involved with. And I was just wondering if we had a path for them earlier than the high school, but it sounds like this investigations class is the first place that starts.
That may be, that's kind of our feeder into our CT program, is that investigating careers course.
Okay, thank you.
You know, I can attest to the ag program. My son came through his welding through here at the high school with a significant amount of hours to carry it over here to Coastal Bend College, but and he does very well. A lot here at the plant, he does very well, and he's just wasn't going. A guy was going to go to school. He was not going to go to college. Well, he didn't have to make more than me. You know what I'm saying? But it's working. The program is effective, so we need to really support that. Back to what Mr. Lucy was talking about, CVAE was in 8th grade when the late educator, Dr. Humberto Garcia, was my CVAE teacher at 8th grade. And though I didn't pursue that type of career, I know how to fix a lawnmower.
Yeah.
You know, I can do a little bit of typing.
Hey, I'm bringing my one over your house tomorrow.
Yeah. But keep up the good work. Ms. Ramirez. I know it's hard, Dr. Sandoval. And we've got a lot of kids that are coming through this program, so thank you so much.
We have the right leaders in place.
We appreciate the board support, and our superintendent, it means a lot to us.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next update is our KISD Crisis Prevention Protocol. And as y'all know, I'm gonna call up Ms. Warren. We have a new LSSP intern with us, and we're so appreciative that Dr. Bessani's had the foresight to get creative to help recruit her. And she has been phenomenal. So, but she is in charge of helping to create the crisis prevention protocol, and we want to make sure we share that with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. I just wanted to make sure y'all do have the crisis protocol in your binder. This is something that out of a lot of research, we went through looking at what the Texas Safety Center has as their model. And then also looked at various school districts around the state and what they do whenever they have not only a student, but any individual within a school that does report suicidal ideations. Instead of just saying, okay, what do we do today? There's now a written policy, a written protocol that all the schools will follow whenever they have a student or a adult that is reporting suicidal ideations. This policy, this protocol will have a flow sheet that we have a crisis assistance team rather than just one person making judgments as to whether or not this is a founded concern. And then they will have very specific criteria that they follow to determine what level of support needs to be given for this individual. In addition to what level of support, there's also forms that are readily available on a Google Drive for all the district employees that provides resources for families, resources for the individual in crises, and a lot of different areas that they could go to get further assistance.
If it is found that they are in an immediate crisis, we do have a partnership with MHID. They have a crisis team here in Kingsville that are available 24/7, that we're able to contact the MHID crisis team if it is an imminent concern.
Mr. Warren, I'm thankful because I was looking at some stats that I looked on and I Googled the other day. There's a thing called stressor storms that our kids are dealing with because of COVID. And what caught me is that 1 in every 450 students are in school have lost a loved one to COVID. Okay, 1 in 450 kids. So if you look at that as in the United States, it's a big number. So in 2017, 1 of 8 students attempted suicide. You know, and it's a big problem that we're gonna see. And then the study also showed that even among girls, 50%, there was a spike. 50% of girls in school have tried committing suicide, and so this is going to be very important that we pay attention to that. And I thank you for being proactive in this definitely, and because we've got kids that are going through some things right now. So
Yes, sir. Not only kids, we have actually implemented this protocol with the staff.
Good.
So it's not just our kids that need the help.
thank you for that.
Quick question, has this protocol been used
Yes, ma'am.
today or since you put it in place?
Yes, ma'am.
And you are going to, are we gonna get like a heads up on if it needs to be altered or if we work for different partners in the future, et cetera, et cetera?
Like to add more partners?
Yeah, and add more, like if once this has been done, I'm assuming it's going to go maybe in a folder somewhere on a black hole outer space and will probably not.
It's a living document, so it will evolve depending on the needs, but also depending on the resources that we can access.
Tracy, we could also share with the. Who trained on who you trained.
Yes, it is in a Google Drive that has been shared. So far, we have trained our district counselors, our district nurses, our safety team, our administrators, and then both Pettis and Harvey Elementary Schools have asked for a miniature training for their entire staff. Therefore, it's like Dr. Pettis says, it's a working document that will continually grow and evolve as needed. But it is all based on Texas Safety Center's recommendations.
Is there a different protocol for SPED than there is for your average general education student?
No, ma'am. If they are voicing suicidal ideations, that is what is first and foremost important.
I read through this and it's very clear to me that this was created by experts who know exactly what they're doing, and I'm very glad that I don't have to deal with it. I'm very, very glad that there is someone in the district that is dealing with this. I think this is a very timely, serious subject, and I appreciate the role this district's taking to safety in general, including mental health.
Thank you, Ms. Warren. Those are all my updates.
All right, board, we move now to item 6B, which is the budget recap report check register for September 2022. This can be found on pages 53 to 60 of our packet. Dr. Pitts.
Thank you, Mr. Kupel. I'm going to address several items on the first page. There are several purchases on the first page for security items, and I would like to point those out. If you look at Raptor Technologies, again, most of you are familiar with that software, and there's also training that's involved, and we have a whole new component, emergency management component, in addition to the screening visitors to our campuses that we have added this year through Dr. Sandoval's office. You also see on their Riley Electric, working with the electric doors. You see Outdoor Country, where we outfitted equipment for our security team as well. And then Macadeno Science too, we put a lot of safety signs and parking tags, all of those trying to make sure that our areas are safe for students and staff. Another recurring theme you see in September is a lot of annual renewals for software. You see a lot of instructional software renewed. You see our time clock, which is basically our personnel clock in, clock out, also being renewed on this as well. And also we have a renewal for Schneider. We have an HVAC annual service contract where not only do we have a block of hours that they come out, but also we have a reduced rate on any equipment and that we get with that maintenance annual agreement as well too, and free service calls over the phone. You also see at the top, you see that we have our annual workers' comp premium. There's also monthly, there's a month in there as well, but you'll see a smaller amount every month for our workers' comp, but our workers' comp fund is very healthy at this time. There were many years where there were very low claims, although this last 6 months, we have had several more claims, but we still have over $750,000 in our school comp funds, so that's very healthy at this time. You see our county appraisal fees every quarter. Every entity that collects taxes pays the appraisal district a proportional amount of the value that is in their area for the services of appraising the properties so that we can collect taxes on them. There's one more I want to point out, and then I'll take questions. If you notice RGO Roofing, RGO is doing the maintenance shop roof. You will see that they will be paid partially for the services that they complete each month, or sometimes every month. They send me a schedule of values, which has 29 line items, and I pay the line items that have been completed at that time. I'll take any other questions that you might have.
I have a question, just a follow-up, because I had emailed the superintendent about the Property Casualty Alliance of Texas for $10,000 professional liability deductible. I don't remember ever seeing that. The only liability I've ever seen you guys present is for Carlisle. What's the difference? Please explain it.
Well, Carlisle, your Property Casualty Alliance is one, Carlisle's the broker. And Property Casualty Alliance is the, I guess you would say, the provider for our educational liability insurance. And as far as deductibles are concerned, whenever we have claims, we have a deductible of $1,000. When we get into just a regular fender bender, we have $15,000 whenever we have a professional educator's liability claim. So we could still be on the hook for $5,000 more in that particular claim. But we also then have $100,000 deductible for each occurrence of our property as well.
Any further questions?
I just have a quick one here. The stadium rental fees, is that the football stadium?
The most of that is $50,000 of the dollars of that is, and the other $490. I think it was a cross-country meet that we had registration fees over at to move as well.
So it's 50,000 for the football. Okay.
50,000 a year, and that's been. I asked back, it's been at least 15, 20 years. Nobody can remember when we paid any other fee for that, so it hasn't gone up in a long time. And that's for all the JV and varsity football games there.
All right, any further questions? If not, we move to item number 7, which is new business. By common consent, the board agrees to consider as one action the following, which can be found on page 61 to 76. Approval of special board meeting minutes of October 4th, 2022, and approval of the waiver of tuition for transfer students 2022 to 2023 school year. Is there a motion that these be approved by consent?
So moved.
Motion made by Ms. Ramos. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Morales. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries 7-0. Item 7B, discussion and possible action regarding Red Ribbon Week proclamation. It's going to be found on page 77 and 78 of our packet. Dr. Sunderland.
Thank you, Mr. Cupo, Board of Trustees, Dr. Pettis. The National Red Ribbon Week campaign was designated in honor of Enrique Quique Camarillo, the DA undercover agent whose battle against drugs took his life on February 7th, 1985, while investigating a major drug cartel in Mexico. In honor of Camarillo's memory and his battle against illegal drugs, all campuses will schedule activities throughout the week to raise awareness and take a stand against drugs and alcohol. KISD will host a kickoff celebration on Monday, October the 24th, 2022 at H&P High School at 9 a.m. to collaborate with the community and spread the message of staying drug-free. The administration recommends that the Board of Trustees approve the proclamation as read proclamating October 23rd to 31st, 2022 as Red Ribbon Week in our schools and community.
All right, you've heard the presentation by administration. Is there a motion to approve the proclamation? Motion made by Mr. Garcia, seconded by Mr. Chapa. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries unanimously. Senator Ball, are you going to read the proclamation?
Do I need to read it?
It's not required, but you may.
I'll read it, it's short. It's completely up to you. Whereas alcohol and other drug use in our state has reached epidemic stages, with the 11 to 20-year-old age group dying at a rate of higher than that of any other group. And because our communities must join together to combat the unrelenting demand for drugs in our state and launch visible, unified preventive education efforts directed towards both youth and adult age groups. And whereas community coalitions are sponsoring the Red Ribbon campaign all across our state during the Red Ribbon Week to offer Texans the opportunity to demonstrate their commitment to drug-free lifestyles. And whereas individuals and groups in government, law enforcement, education, religious institutions, sports teams, and service organizations, as well as young youth, physicians, and senior citizens will demonstrate their commitment to drug-free, healthy lifestyles by wearing and displaying red ribbons during the Red Ribbon Week. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of Kingsville Independent School District hereby proclaim the week of October 23rd to 31st, 2022 as Red Ribbon Week in Kingsville, Texas. Also calling all citizens to join us in recognizing the efforts of the community coalitions towards eliminating the use of drugs in our communities and in supporting the Red Ribbon Week campaign and a high quality of life for the youth and adults in Texas and throughout the United States. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sunderland. And most likely later this week, if we haven't already, we'll be kind of filled in on some of the kickoff. So that the
Yes, there's a flyer, I believe that we're posting already, correct, Dr. Sunderland? I thought it was already posted about the kickoff on Monday. It'll be at the Dome.
All right, we move now to item 7C, discussion and possible action regarding District of Innovation, DOI resolution. This resolution initiates the process of exploring and considering designation of the district as a district of innovation under House Bill 1842. Dr. Betts.
Okay, the administration recommends that the Board of Trustees of Kingsville ISD, by adoption of this resolution, initiates the process of exploring and considering designation of the district as a district of innovation under HB 1842. As explained during the public hearing.
Okay, we've heard the presentation. We've heard the administration's recommendation. Board, we've all had access to this resolution. Is there a motion to approve it? Motion made by Mr. Morellis. Seconded by Ms. Salinas. Any discussion?
Mr. President, I have a quick question. When we, when and if we decide to go ahead and get this process started, are we going to use a, consultant to, put together a committee and pay them to write all this up and present it to us?
Oh, yeah, to meet with the DEIC and, or to appoint a committee? No, I don't.
Or to do anything associated with the DOI, are we gonna pay somebody a whole lot of money to consult to put this together?
To put together our DOI plan. Not that I know of, no, but they. No, but we did have someone researching and helping us with it. Yes, we had a consultant helping us with it, along with some other items.
But how much are we paying them to do that? I mean, it's kind of written down on black and white on the website, what to do.
I don't have it. I don't have it handy, but I can give it to you. To do all the research up until this point? Yes.
Any further questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition?
No.
Motion carries 6-1. Because this is. Mr. Maddox, could you read the resolution that we've just adopted?
Yes, Mr. President. Whereas Education Code 12A.001 provides that the district is eligible for designation as a district of innovation if the district's most recent performance rating under section 39.054 reflects at least acceptable performance, and that consideration of designation as a district of innovation may be initiated by a resolution adopted by the Board of Trustees of the district. And whereas the Kingsville Independent School District most recent performance rating under Educational Code 39.054 reflects at least an acceptable performance. Whereas Kingsville ISD Board of Trustees is committed to being intentionally responsive and providing students exceptional opportunities for learning. And whereas HB 1842 provides Texas Public School Districts the opportunity to be designated as District of Innovation. And whereas Texas districts designed by District of Innovation may be exempted from a number of state statutes. And whereas the Kingsville Independent School District Board of Trustees believes in supporting innovation. And whereas the Kingsville Independent Board of Trustees believes that it can be a better decision-making body for students when it has freedom to exercise local control over the decision-making process. And whereas HB 1842 requires districts seeking to be designated as a district of innovation to develop a local innovation plan. And whereas the Kingsville Independent School District Board of Trustees believes that a local innovation plan, if created, should be developed in conjunction with the district improvement plan. And whereas before considering the creation of a local innovation plan, the Board of Trustees will ensure the district receives feedback from district stakeholders. And whereas Kingsville Independent School District has properly and lawfully convened and held all necessary public hearings and has or will at the appropriate time in the future comply with all notice requirements and other procedural requirements on behalf of both the public and the Commissioner of Education, therefore be it resolved, the Board of Trustees of Kingsville ISD by adoption of this resolution initiates the process of exploring and considering designation of the district as a district of innovation under House Bill 1842.
Thank you, Mr. Maddox. All right, we move now to item 7D. Unless there's objection, I'm going to combine 7D and 7E, since they're both the second reading of localized policy. 7D, considered the purchasing and acquisition, which we initiated ourselves as a board. 7E is the update 119. Dr. Sandoval.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper, Board of Trustees, Dr. Pettis. Local policy CH local just pertains to the increase of the minimum of 25,000 or the purchase of any goods or service to 25 or more, regardless of whether the goods or services are competitively purchased, shall require board approval before a transaction may take place. In addition to that, that is currently 25,000. So we want to increase that to 50,000 as part of this policy update. In addition, policy stating that the superintendent shall not be required to obtain board approval for a purchase made through a cooperative purchasing program or a state purchasing program that satisfies the district's obligation for competitive purchasing is being recommended to be deleted as part of this local policy. So the the administration recommends the Board of Trustees provide board policy PH local to include board approval for a single purchase for 25,000 to 50,000. And then remove the requirement that the superintendent can make a purchase that is in the part of the co-op. We want to remove that from the policy as well. Update 119. These are updates that were part of the 87th legislative session and the first, second, and third called legislative session. The policy that we're looking to update are CPC local, which pertains to office management and records management. DMA local, which pertains to professional development, requires staff development. EHAA local, which is basic instructional program requirements, instructional for all levels. EHB local, which is curriculum design for special programs. EHBAAA, special education pertaining to identification, evaluation, and eligibility. EHBB local, which pertains to special programs, gifted and talented students. EIF local, which pertains to academic achievement and graduation. FFBA local, which is crisis intervention for trauma-informed care. And lastly, FFH local, student welfare, freedom from discrimination, harassment, and retaliation. The administration recommends that the Board of Trustees add, revise, or delete local policies as recommended by TASB Policy Services and according to the instruction sheet for TASB Localized Policy Manual Update 119.
All right, well, we've considered all these policies in a workshop. They've been through their first reading. This is the second reading. This will actually implement these policies. Do I have a motion to approve the second reading? Motion made by Mr. Morales. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Glusick. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition?
No.
Motion carries 6-1. Item 7F, discussion and possible action regarding purchases over 25,000. It's going to be found on page 162 to 163 of our packet. Dr. Pitts.
Thank you, Mr. Kufal. I didn't want to presume that the board would change the threshold to 50,000 on the last vote, but I want to make that change right now. The board just approved it being moved to 50,000. So you look at the first one, we talked about that, the appraisal district. The second one, threat protection for the mail cloud agent with it, basically our district security software. That ends the end of this month. You don't see the vendor yet because I'm still waiting on one more quote, but the best quote I have so far is 103,000. This wouldn't have gone to the board in the past because these type of vendors are normally on buy board or another purchasing co-op. So now you will see different things coming to you for approval, regardless of whether they're on a purchasing co-op or not, if they're over 50,000. I'll take any questions that you might have.
Dr. Pitts, for example, the very first one, that's not paid out in a lump sum. It's paid out over the year. Is that correct?
That's correct, but each of the lump payments are over 50,000 since they're quarterly, so.
So one-time approval of that budgeted amount covers you for the remainder of those payments, correct?
Correct, so I won't be bringing this every time because I'm taking it for the full amount right now for the year. But you will see it in September of next year again.
Any further questions?
I think Peter Pitts invented a number. They have an extra zero in there just to. Out.
You're right, it shouldn't be 1 million, it should be 103,000. Thank you. That's Peter Pitts, ma'am.
All right, is there a motion to approve these purchases over 25,000?
So moved.
Motion made by Ms. Ramos. Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Salinas. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carried 7-0. Item number 8, the board's now going to enter into closed session in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551.071 and 551.074 to deliberate and consider the following. 8A, discussion regarding personnel matters. 8B, consultation with legal consultant regarding pending legal matters. 8C, discussion regarding superintendent contract extension or renewal. 8D, update on potential real estate transactions. No action will be taken until we return to open session. We are entering closed session at 6:51 p.m.
So when Dr. Pettis comes up there, not the Halloween theme song, or something like that. How about the dun, 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 dun.
We now return to open session to take necessary action on matters which the board may discuss in open session, and upon which action may be taken. We are returning to open session at 8:17 PM. Item 9C, discussion and possible action regarding superintendent contract extension or renewal.
I would like to move that we increase the. Okay, I'll do it that way. So the contract by 1 year and increase, give a 5% increase.
A second,
All right, motion has been made by Mr. Glusing to extend the superintendent's contract for 1 year and increase the superintendent's salary by 5%. Motion made by Mr. Glusing, seconded by Mr. Chapa. Any further discussion?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a statement. I think we're a little bit premature. We're having goals set up next month. And she did an exceptional job of meeting her goals of this year. And I would prefer to incentivize her contract plus a raise, but that's not promised in what is being presented. So just want to add that. Thank you.
All right. Motion on the table is to extend the superintendent's contract by 1 year and increase by the salary by 5%. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition?
No.
Motion carries 6-1. There being no further action, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion made by Ms. Salinas, seconded by Ms. Rollins. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. This meeting is being adjourned at 8:19 PM.